Hey everyone, this is Heather Ashamara, and I'm so delighted to bring in the fabulous, joyful Genia to speak with us today on the Love Stream Spotlight. And she is just the perfect goddess of love and magic and mystery to take us on a journey today. So I met Genia many years ago now in our center at Austin. We had a Toltec Center of Creative Intent in Austin. That was where I was first honored to get to meet her and have her be part of the community. And I just got to see you in January, which was so wonderful too at the event there. So yay. So thanks for joining us today. And I am going to disappear, give the spotlight to you. And as I told Genia earlier, I'll come back at any time if you have a, if you're like, let's talk about this thing, I'll come back in. But I want to highlight you and your just the powerful message that you have. So thanks so much for joining us. And now, boom.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetheart.
I'm so excited and delighted to be here. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this. You know, I've loved you for many years. I always call Heather Ash one of my original mentors because I learned so much. And I really feel like a lot of what I learned in 13 Moons, that was a program, really helped to continue to expand my mind as a woman. It was a very, like the approach was very like feminine and connection, and my energy is more masculine, like it's a very strong energy. And so it was such a really great balance. So thank you so much for that opportunity. I just try to take the different experiences in my life to create lessons, blessings, see what gratitude I can pull from that. And with that, speaking of gratitude, this is such a time. Okay, let me start by saying, I never thought in my lifetime that we would be going through what we're going through. My son in May marched for the exact same thing that my mom marched for almost 60 years ago. And that blows my mind. We actually had like a three-way conversation. My mom and I have a platform called Madness and Miracles. They're a company, Mad Miracles. And so the three of us, we were talking about this generation thing. And it's just wild because my mom, she used to work with the Black Panthers when she was really young, like 5 years old, making lunches and volunteering and marching. The other side of what people think, because I know a lot of times people associate Black Panthers as militants. I'm not saying they didn't have that side, but for my mom, it was all about community. And how do we elevate the community? How do we stand for people who may feel like their voices aren't very strong? And sometimes we all need a little bit of support. And then fast forward to my son as he was marching, we won't ever know the minds of some of the police officers unless maybe we interviewed them as well. But I can't imagine what they were going through at the same time what my son was going through. So as he was standing there and he takes a step back because he felt like the police officer was going to start shooting, and that's exactly what he did. It's wild. Again, I never thought in my lifetime I would deal with anything like that. This year for everybody has been a wild year. A lot of people set goals for 2019 going into 2020 vision. You know, this is what I'm going to do, what I'm going to accomplish. And mine for this year was just joy. Yes, you know, I like to check things off the box, but for the intention for the year, really, I just wanted to create and experience more joy. And starting off this year, in January, right, I moved back to Austin from Houston. My dad died, which was a shock, totally out of the ordinary for me because I didn't expect that. Of course, we never expect when people are going to pass away, but he did. And that was the first jolt for me. And I had an opportunity to decide, will I continue to sit in my sorrow, or do I want to infuse just a little bit of joy in my day? And yes, now, like, I still have moments where I cry about it, but I'm still able to reach for that joy. And I'm kind of taking you on a journey. So then fast forward, then we have COVID, right? And that was a big shock. I will say I do enjoy working from home, and I'm very, very appreciative that my family wasn't impacted negatively, my immediate family, because of COVID. I do have some other family members who unfortunately did lose some of their jobs. And of course, prayers and blessings to them as well as everybody else. But that was a big shock because we had to change our lifestyle, some. And then moving to my son in that situation. But let me tell you, right? Sometimes what we think we're upset about, we're not really upset about. Or it could go much deeper than that. After the situation with my son, I told you about the three-way conversation between my mom, my son, and myself, just on like the state of the world and what we've seen over the last 60 years. Well, my mom seen over the last 60 years, and just some congruency in the three generations. Yes, I was upset. I was in terror. I mean, I was, when I say typical mom, like worried, of course, like my son, when he was shot with the less lethal bullet, it was in his arm right here. Well, what happened was it hit so hard that it created something called compartment syndrome, and he no longer had blood flowing to the rest of his hand. And thank goodness he reached out to his grandmother, who is a nurse. This is my husband's mother, took a picture and said, should I go, get this checked out? And she said, yes, immediately, because it swelled to like the size of a baseball or something. And so he went, and thank goodness he went. Thank goodness, because normally he would just go home and put some ice on it. I probably would too. When he called me, I was at dinner. He said, Mom, I was shot by a rubber bullet by the police. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know anything about these, right? And he said, can I have the insurance information? And I gave that to him. And I was just waiting for him to give me a call back. And then the next call I got was, Mom, I'm going into emergency surgery. And of course, then my heart dropped. And whew, makes me a little teary-eyed. He could not move his fingers at all. When I went to the hospital after his surgery, we were talking to the doctor, and he said that he told Jamaica before his surgery, Jamaica, please just move one finger, because he didn't want to have to operate on him. And Jamaica said, I feel like I'm closing my fist, but he wasn't doing anything. So they had the surgery. I went to see him the day after, and, I actually recorded my first video about it. And my whole position was, I don't know the state, like I said before, like of the police. I don't know what they were feeling. I don't know what everybody was feeling in the crowd, but I know that there was a lot of energy that was twirling through there, and people wanted to be heard during that time, Jamaica being one of those people. And I do walk in compassion. And what I mean by that is, sometimes, a lot of times, we don't know the underlying story. If you've ever seen the movie The Joker, that is a perfect example. I know that's like a fictitious character, but it's very interesting, because even though like he's the villain, when you look at how he turned into the villain, it makes you have a little compassion for him. Now, I am not comparing police officers to the movie Joker. I'm just saying that a lot of times we don't know what goes through everyone's mind, and we don't know what another person's experience is to impact their values and their beliefs. All we can do is come from our own set of exposures that then we project onto other people. I'm bringing you back to my story in terms of, sometimes we are upset about things that there's something else that we're upset about. So with Jamaica's situation, the three of us are talking, and he starts to say his opinion about how he feels about, defunding or dismantling. I think we were just talking about defunding, and I wanted to shut him down immediately, because we're live, and I didn't want him to say anything that would make him look, quote, bad. And he wasn't saying anything bad. Actually, we spoke off the record, and he educated me a little bit. And I was really appreciative of that. And what it made me realize was my attempt to censor him. And in my attempt to censor him, I realized over the years how I've censored myself. It started when I was young. And we talk about, we don't know people, where people are coming from, even though, yes, we can live in the same household, we can have the same family. You don't know how things impact people. Some of my family, when I was growing up, some of my cousins, they teased me because of the way that I spoke and the way that I carried myself. And it hurt so bad. Like, I can't even tell you, but I wanted to fit in. I did. I loved them. I saw them every summer. I was called white girl. I was, it's like, why do you talk proper? Why do you dress like this? Like, it was pointed out to me so young that I was, quote, a different type of Black person. And I thought we were all the same. Like, yes, we have, like, we may grow up a little differently, but for me, like, I mean, we're Black, like, my dad was raised like where your parents were raised, and we have, the same elders in our family. And I see you every summer. We play the same games together. For me, I'm like, why does it matter how I talk or how I dress? One time, this is the worst comeback ever, okay? And you can laugh at this comeback. I had a cousin that said, "What are you, white or something?" I was like, "Yeah, didn't you know I was white, reincarnated Black?" That was the only thing that I could say. I could say back because I felt so stupid. I didn't really know what to say. And then I had a friend that I would bring with me. And it's interesting because she posted recently about the impact for her growing up, Oreo, white girl and all that. And, we're both Black girls. They're like, "Oh, you had to bring your other white friend around?" Like, she's darker than I am. So what's wild is I had to defend my Blackness. I'm Black. And when I think about my son, he is biracial. And so there are aspects where he's had to defend his Blackness. My mom, she's Black, but she's very light skinned. She's had to defend her Blackness. And that is just wild to me, to have to, like, just defend who you are. Like, there's like you can look at me and you can tell. So with that, I met with a friend of mine, and we were just talking about the impacts, because she had some impacts growing up in terms of her family moving and how they were raised, and again, some censorship. And she said, "I wonder if," of course we won't ever know, but she said, "I wonder if my joyful and bubbly personality comes from all those experiences." And of course I want to say yes. We won't know if I was treating me differently if I would be like this. But in a way, to maybe it could have started off as a mask, or it was me being a different type of Black person, which that is not how I feel. Yes, we do come from different backgrounds, but I mean, if we can trace our ancestors, we have the same foundation, With that, I am thankful that I'm joyful, Genia. I am thankful that I can find joy. It doesn't mean that I find joy in every situation, but I could still find joy in my life. Like I talked about on the video when I was responding about Jamaica, is no, I don't see joy in terms of him getting shot, but where I saw the joy was all of the love and support. Oh my gosh, thank you to every single person for your financial contribution towards his medical bills. We do have insurance, but they sent me a letter saying that I had to describe what happened to decide if they were going to cover it or not. I was so shocked. I've never heard of that before. So thank you for that, as well as thank you for your love and support. Jamaica felt heard. And you know what? During this time, that's what people want. People want to be heard. I told Jamaica, what you did, you marching in solidarity, you were heard, my son. And for those of you that are out there on the forefront making things happen, you are being heard. And I think it's important that we listen. And that's on all sides, because if we listen, then we can understand where another person is coming from. We can understand the beliefs and the values. Earlier I talked about the judgment, and judgment comes because we don't know the full story. Shoot, we judge ourselves, right? Oh, Jolie, that's so sweet. We judge ourselves. And if it's easy for us to judge ourselves, like we're going to do the same for other people. And what's wild is we don't know the complete story. Even sometimes digging deeper, like I said, I was actually even more upset about Jamaica's situation because of my own censorship that I realized. Well, I didn't realize that until later. So I was even judging myself from a different place. I was judging my response to Jamaica. And then I said, oh, wow, this is my own thing. This is my own censorship. So during this time, listen, when people have the floor to talk, just listen. Then when they're finished, this is a great exercise. My sister-in-law, she taught me this. She's a social worker, is recap what that person said. Make sure you actually got it before you respond. How many of you, and can I get a me out there that is already responding to someone before they even finish talking? I'm guilty of that sometimes. Yes, Ash, right? Yes. Because we're like, no, I have this great response, or I want to help you do this, or, but just listen. Just listen. And if it's really important for you, then maybe you can take some notes, but just listen to what that person has to say, recap it. And then when it's your turn to talk, then you can talk. But when we start talking over other people, or when we, and it's maybe not intentional, but diminish what another person is saying, then they're not going to hear you. And then we just end up in this cycle of nobody hearing each other. So I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody. And also to recognize that as we are listening, as we are talking, that everybody has their own lane. And be careful, again, on judgment, right? Not to judge someone based on their lane. Like my lane is joy. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't stand up for what I believe in, because since I've realized over the years I've censored myself, not anymore. I mean, I'm still joyful Genia when I do it. I have learned that sometimes I have to be a little bit more stern, but it doesn't mean that I have to diminish, or I have to make someone else feel small or speak condescending to a person. But I do feel like we all have our lanes. There are people like a Jamaica, like my mom, who are out there marching forefront. There are a lot of people that are out there doing that. That's their lane. There are other people that are out there. They're going to the city council. That's me, I called. They're going to the city council. They are, speaking to our representatives. There are those people in those lanes. There are people that are fundraising. They're in those lanes. There are people who, like my husband, is doing a lot of research to understand what are all the nuances behind everything that we're going through, That's his lane. There are people that are, my mom and I, through Mad Miracles, we have a task force that we put together, and we'll have different groups within that. We're focused on training. We're focusing on community relationship between the community and police. Like, everybody has their own lane, and respect that lane. Again, mine is joy. I have a business called Create a Magical Day, and it's all about inspirational living. Right now, I just share tips and tools for joyful living, because there are so many of us, even, pre-civil unrest is what I'm going to call it, pre-COVID, that were already struggling in different capacities, whether we felt like we weren't energized enough, we didn't have enough time for ourselves, maybe we didn't feel valued, etc. So if you would like to sign up for some tips, you can go to my site. It's pretty cool. I just did some updates. It's a createamagicalday.com, and you can sign up. And as soon as you sign up, you get your very first tip. If you don't see it, like, maybe check your promotions or your spam. They're super fun. My daughter, she messaged me today, and she's like, Mom, I got my first tip and it rocked. I was like, yay, because I read it like 1,000 times before I put it together. You can also follow me on Create a Magical Day, Instagram and Facebook, if that is something that you want to incorporate in your life. I feel that joy is very important, especially during times where we do have a focus. Don't you want more energy? Don't you want to feel healthy? Don't you want to feel innovative? Don't you want to have healthier relationships and collaboration? Don't you want to be able to articulate yourself in a way that someone can understand you? When you experience more joy, when you feel that on the inside, it helps with all those things and even more. It's not about waiting for those things to happen before you create joy. It's doing little things. It's infusing joy just a little bit every day. So you can get that momentum, whatever you need. I say to my friends that are on the front line, like I've contacted people and I'll ask, are you taking care of yourself emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever you need? Are you getting the rest that you need? Are you intaking healthy things, not just food, but even some of your reading? What are you doing to take care of yourself? Why? So you can keep going. It's not about masking anything. Like me showing up in joy. Oh, believe me, I still have the deep conversations. I've had to educate some people. Some things you say and some things you don't say. I have learned how to be a pretty effective communicator, and realizing the censorship, it's helped me even more in my communication. But I'm still joyful because it's already in me. And so I just want you to think about that. And if joy is not your word, it could be peace, it could be calm, whatever that is. You want to infuse. You have to be active about it. Joy, it's your birthright. Okay. It's already inside of you. That is one thing that fuels Jamaica, right? It says passion. That could be a word for you, right? But it makes him feel good. So he wants to keep going. He's working on some amazing projects right now that are in alignment with this. Like I said, with my mom and all these different projects we have going on, how I've even like kind of morphed what Create a Magical Day is. It's because we're practicing whatever that is, that little, it could be a gratitude list. 5 things that you're thankful for. I love mirror dancing. Hey, or what are some things that you're really proud of about yourself, or you're proud of things that you're seeing in the world? Like, man, all of these like community outreaches that I'm seeing, wow, it's amazing. And even like I have a cousin who's a police officer, and I'll be honest, like I didn't respect him for a really long time, not because he was a police officer, but because of his position on some things. He has put out some of the most beautiful statements that has really opened me up. And that way, that segues me into grace and acceptance. Everybody wants grace and acceptance. You want grace and acceptance. So if you want it, then other people do as well. With grace and acceptance, it doesn't mean that you have to be okay with everything that another person does. But when I was talking about being heard, that's one way that you're accepting someone. But again, it doesn't mean that you have to agree. You can listen, and you don't have to degrade them either. You can still have varying opinions, but everybody wants grace and acceptance. And I feel that the more that we are able to give it to ourselves, then we can also extend it to each other. As we continue to share that grace and acceptance, then it will help, with what's going on in the world. I want you to see this is beautiful. Okay. So my friend, at first I didn't agree with him, but he said, we have to see each other because we're in America right now. He's like, we have to see each other as Americans, not just, I want to bridge the gap and, and be there to support, Blacks. I want to be there to support Native Americans, to my Latinos, do we see each other the same? Do we follow the same Constitution, right? And then I take it outside of that. Do we see each other as humans? Do you see me as a human? Like, I don't want you to say you don't see color. Please, I hope that you see that I'm brown, okay? We do see color, just like you can see that I have feminine features. And I know that some people don't necessarily associate with like male or female. I do, but you can see what I look like. So please recognize me, but then also know that We're all part of the same tribe. You know what that tribe is? It's the human tribe. We're all, man, and we are, golly, we are some amazing people. We are amazing. We are amazing in our smaller tribes. And just think about on a global level. Now, I know people think I'm silly when I'm like, world peace, joy for everybody. Like, I wish I could just like hug almost 8 billion people in the world. And I know that's not possible. Everybody is not going to feel the way I do. And you know what? I accept that, and I extend grace and acceptance because that's okay. This is my lane right here. But the more that we can understand, the more that we can extend compassion and love and joy, I feel that we can get to a place where it's like, I see you, even if I don't agree with everything. Do you ever agree with everything that you do? Do you? No. Do you ever disappoint yourself? Yes. Do you ever commit to something and not follow through? No, not you. See what I mean? If you do it to yourself, then it's other people are going to do it to us. But do we shun ourselves? Do we cut ourselves off? I mean, sometimes we show hatred towards ourselves, and hopefully those that are in that place can find that love. But everything that we judge another person on, we judge ourselves. And that's why I said getting back to this, and it's not a selfish thing. I love this. My niece just finished reading The Four Agreements, which is one of my favorite books. And we were talking about impeccability. And it's so poignant for where we are to me, because it's being your truth. It's standing in your truth. It's being on your side. When you're in your truth, when you're on your side, then it opens you up to live that way and to extend that to others. Now, I want to add this. It's also being in integrity, because I know that there are some people who are like, they're all about themselves, and it's not extending it to other people. But standing in your truth, keeping your heart open, loving you so that you can keep yourself open to connecting with other people. It's a connection thing. It's a human thing. It's a heart thing. Let's take it back to the heart. When we're born, we're here. We're nothing but love. All of the things that divide us, Don Miguel talks about domestication. It's all of what's been given to us, right? Like whether it's our family life, our school teachers, things that we watch, etc. And then that's how we create the world around us. But we're just born. And so one thing that I extend to you is to think about, if you could go back to that day when you were born, what would you like to feel? What is that feeling? And after you've identified that feeling, I want you to jump into your gratitude, because that is what's going to help you get back to that feeling, that pure, just thankful, just here feeling. It's not a place to get to. It's not a place to be. Yes, we're still striving for things, but I always say this: the more you give gratitude for what you have, the more you receive to be thankful for. And what I mean by that is you start to see things. So I'm going to say it one more time. The more you give gratitude for what you have, the more you receive to give gratitude for. You start experiencing more, even if it's taking a deep breath, or messaging a friend and saying, how's your day? What's something joyful that happened to you? Or taking a swig of water and that thirst is quenched. So think about that. What are some things that can bring you back to joy, bring you back to peace, bring you back to calm? And again, if you would love some tips, you'd love to join me on the journey, you can go to createamagicalday.com. You can sign up and you'll immediately get your tips. Woo, woo, woo. So just so you know, like it's super cool. Like they'll come 5 days in a row. Like you get a new tip every day. And then I'll space them out afterward just to give you a nice little jump start. And as I'm expanding the community, you'll be a part of my email list so you can know all the wonderful things that are going on. So Heather, Ash, I just wanted to thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this, for letting my voice be heard. I'm so delighted. Thank you. Thank you so much. Just even listening to myself, it helps me to realize the place that I'm in, and I am overjoyed with gratitude. So thank you.
You are so welcome, sweetheart. And it's just sitting here in a cafe, just like, I love you so much. It's so beautiful. So just to see your love and your joy and your centeredness, and to know that it's been a hard year for you. I mean, I've watched you go through your journey of losing your father, with your son. And I think it's really important for us to keep pointing out that coming into joy doesn't mean everything in my life is magical and therefore I'm joyful. It's you make the magic with what life is bringing you. Yeah. And you do that so beautifully. So thank you so much for sharing so fully from your heart. Everyone, I know everyone can really feel it.
Thank you for giving me the platform to share.
Absolutely. Anytime. And I'll share again. So Genia's createamagicalday.com. So everyone go sign up so you can get her tips. OM. Yes.
Yay.
It's working. Yay. Thanks to everyone for joining us, whether you joined us live or you watched the recording later. And again, thanks so much, Genia. Take good care of yourself, and we hope to connect with you soon.
Yes, sounds good. Thank you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.